Hi everybody, this is Toffee bringing you part 3 of my Fire Emblem, the Sacred Stones 100% growth, Eirika Rod, full recruitment, LTC. Welcome to the late game. We're joined in preps by Mer. She exists. Now that we have the Warp Staff, maps will go by quite fast and our staff users will take over as our most important units. Chapter 16 has Eirika retaking Renai in a Seas map, and we need 2 Warpers in order to get a Boscular and Eirika to the Seas point. However, there is an important side objective, the Purge Stone, which will greatly help in the late game. It does turn out to not be strictly necessary, and I will have notes in the description on how a Purge-less route would look. Vanessa uses the Master Seal to promote to give us an extra 8 move flyer, and I have her go Wyvern since it's a superior class, though you could just as well go Falcon Knight. We also promote Moulder. He can promote to Sage to reach 12 magic, or Bishop for 13 magic to reach his minimum warp range threshold for this map, saving us an energy ring. To grab Purge, we need a 24 magic warper, which will be Artur. The warp of the Boscular can be done with just 24 magic given that Boscil is the Swift Souls user, and Eirika needs either a 6 range warp followed by a 13 range warp or a 7 range warp followed by a 12 range warp since he'll be one-turning this map. I had an energy ring left over that I gave to Moulder, just to show off the 7 range warp followed by a 12 range warp. Saleh will take 2 energy rings to reach 26 magic, which he needs by chapter 18, which is why we needed a Sage to be one of our warpers, though it's not exactly like there are any other good candidates for a warper. Artur started by warping Vanessa with his 12 range into a position where she can grab the Purge Stone from. Moulder then warps Eirika 7 tiles since I figured I could show off what the 7 range followed by 12 range warp looks like I said. Saleh will then warp Tana, which reduces the warp staff to 1 use since we used it one time in chapter 15 to get the Master Seal and Body Ring. This is where our extra C rank staffer comes in. Luke will use Hammerne to repair the warp staff to full, though you will notice that she only needed 5 move for this, meaning Natasha could have done this job if she had C staves. Ford and Seth will rescue drop Saleh forward, and Tethys will dance for him so he can warp Eirika to the Seas point. Getting Saleh to 28 magic will save a staff use in chapter 20, but Saleh easily gets there off of the warps that he must do, and we also will end up with a spare staff use anyway, as you'll see. Vanessa will get Purge, Tana kills the boss, and Eirika will seize to complete chapter 16 in 1 turn. At the end of the map, Eirika and Ephraim get the option to promote, and we have no reason to delay this, since we want Eirika to get her horse for a future map, and her stats are good enough for what she needs to do. Eirika and Ephraim also get monster effective PRFs in the Sigland and Sigmund, respectively. Chapter 17 is a kill boss, which is rather a joke objective at this point. However, the boss is so far away that we would either need to give Artur or Saleh the Swift Souls to purge crit Leon, or spend a warp use, and we go for the latter since we wanted the Swift Souls on Tana. Tana uses her 10 move to kill this mage, who drops a guiding ring. This is for Null to use. We will then have Saleh warp Vanessa to kill Leon, and he gets a second action from Tethys to use Silence for a little extra EXP. Vanessa will rig a Pierce crit on Leon to complete chapter 17 in 1 turn. At the end of the map, we get the S-rank bow Nidhogg and the S-rank lance Vidafnir. We also get the rescue staff for keeping the civilians safe and are joined by Cyrene. Cyrene has terrible stats, but is an 8 move flyer, meaning she will be able to help out in chapter 18. Chapter 18 is the only late game map in FE8 that is remotely challenging to LTC. This clear will follow the same basic template as older LTCs, but will show off some minor improvements that I came up with. We bring out Cyrene and Null for this map. Null will take the speed wings and promote to Summoner. Summoners can summon phantoms, which can act as budget flyers, and can also increase action economy when dealing with passive enemies, which are exactly what this map is full of in the form of eggs. There are also 3 Gorgons who we need to take special steps to kill. The Master Seal from Chapter 15 is useful on this map to get an extra 8 movement flyer, and the clearer I show off reduces resource utilization relative to older LTCs thanks to having Null. Null gets 1 free auto level on Eirika, which is a +1 to all his stats under 100% growths, and he will use the Luna to ignore the enemy's resistance. It has terrible hit, but has some innate crit, and we only need to rig him to handle a couple of enemies. This is the map I thought I needed B Light and C staves on loot for, but as you'll see, her job does not need B Light at all, meaning promoted Moulder could have done it. Since Null has 8 con when promoted to Summoner, we had to give our Warper Saleh the body ring for this map. Artur will be the primary rescue user, and between them they will also handle all the purging we want to do on this map. We open the map by having Artur rescue Franz forward. He only used 5 move for the sake of Saleh's positioning. Eirika picks up Null and cantoed over to that spot. Seth and Tana then moved forward to kill 2 of the eggs in the forward clump, though we could have taken advantage of one of them hatching to clear them all out this turn, or even just had Tana kill the Gargoyle, who has an annoying 50% chance to not act. Seth's job has to be done by an 8-move unit who has noticeably worse magical bulk than Franz, which is easy given Franz's inflated stats. We need any decent combat unit to be worked turn 1 to the bottom right to handle the clump of 3 eggs there, and I sent Moulder, though he has bad bulk and somebody like Ephraim would have been much better at it. That unit needs to have 1 to 2 range. A simple 12 range warp would have been more than enough for the warp of Moulder. While doing this, Saleh took Null, which is why he needed the body ring in order to carry Null. Saleh hits 28 magic but doesn't really need it for this clear. Tatish refreshed him, and then Saleh will give Null to Franz and warp him. He needs 26 magic for this warp, but only because Archer undermoved by 1. We did this so Loot can Hammerne the warp staff on turn 1, since it has been reduced to 1 use again, giving us 5 more uses for the rest of the run. Franz equips the 1-use javelin and drops Null behind him. We then do a long rig to ensure Franz and Null will do what they need to do, before Vanessa and Cyrene rescue drop Eirika forward. The boss moves first, and seeing that Franz has a 1-use javelin, will attack him from 2 range with Demon Surge, and Franz needs to crit her on the counter to deal with her. This manip is needed since her other weapon is Stone, which cannot be countered at 3 range. This deals with the first of the Gargons. We need to rig this Gargoyle to activate his 50% chance of moving to die on this turn, since we will have Tethys in range of him in the future otherwise, and this is a route map. I gave Null the speed wings, so he could double and 1-round that Mogul. The Shadowshot Gargon moves down to attack Seth, the magically frailest unit in range, which puts her in range to be picked off next turn. Finally, the third Gargon sees an opportunity to reduce Null to critical HP, and will hence attack him with Demon Surge rather than Stone, which will give Null the opportunity to kill her with a Luna crit on the counter. No weapon break needed. The Lava Tails on this map do 10 damage to a unit who starts their turn on them, so we will have to be careful with Seth and Null's positioning. On turn 2, Loot goes forward to clear the last egg in that clump out of the way, since we want Archer to rescue Vanessa to that spot. Vanessa can reach and kill the Shadowshot Gargon, solving the problem of that passive enemy. Tana can then fly up to reach the egg beyond her. Saleh needs to warp Eirika 13 squares for her to reach an egg because of her lack of 2 range. The analogous warp in the Ephraim route clear is done by Artur, who has a lower magic cap, but it works because Ephraim can reach the same egg with a 2 range attack. Saleh will also warp Seth up there since we need an extra body to kill 2 more eggs in that area. Noel shows off a special talent here. While Noel is a grounded unit and can only summon onto grounded tiles, Phantoms are 5 movement flyers. They're locked to 1 range since Noel is only at level 1, and have 1 HP and no defense or resistance, but we just want our Phantom to pick off a couple of defenseless eggs. As such, Noel and his Phantom can kill a total of 3 eggs in 2 turns. Franz will use his 8 move to reach the top clump of eggs from 2 range and handle the remaining Mogul there. Seth is at low HP, and I have to have him dodge the Gargoyle who attacks him on this turn, and the Gargoyle who's going to spawn in as a reinforcement and attack him on the next turn in order to survive. Cyrene will use her 8 movement to cover 2 eggs over these 2 turns. These bales are rather inaccurate but also really powerful, which is the reason why someone like Ephraim would have been a better candidate for this job. Saleh switches over to Purge on the final turn, and with Tethys' help, he deletes 2 out-of-the-way eggs. Loot is free to kill the nearby egg, and you can see how her job could have been done by promoted Moulder. Lucha trades Purge from Saleh to kill another egg from the right clump. That's 3 Purge uses, and that's all the ones we need for this strategy. Franz will kill the last egg in the top right clump, and by taking that position he protects the Phantom from the Gargoyle, since the Gargoyle can't fly over the tile to the left of it. The Phantom covers the other egg there, and this frees up No to walk down and kill an extra egg relative to a pure combat unit. Noel's unique capabilities save 2 Purge uses on this map relative to the older clears, because our Warper and our Rescue user were capable of using Purge. Vanessa can fly up to cover this egg on the cliff, which will clear the way for Seth to pick off the egg on the left, since that egg has to be killed from 2 range. He uses the spear so that he has the offensive power to cleanly one-round the Gargoyle, who is going to go for him, seeing a kill. We'll just clean up the remaining eggs and let the enemy phase play out to complete Chapter 18 in 3 turns, with 4 warps, 2 rescues, and 3 purges. Chapter 19 is a kill boss and the final Fog of War map in the game. This chapter is classically done with one warp use, but I figured out a way to get the bolting from the right treasure room with one rescue use in a past iteration of this LTC, and it is possible to have a Sage or Mage Knight expose the boss with the torch use, get danced, and then bolting crit him to death. We, however, already have a Purge Tome, and so will clear this map without any movement staves. Despite the Siege Tome being Purge, we need a Sage for the boss kill because the boss is actually quite bulky, and a Bishop cannot one-shot with the crit thanks to their magic cap. At the end of the map, we get the S-Rank Light Tome Ivaldi, the S-Rank Staff Latona, 10,000 gold, and a Light Brand. That's chapter 19 in one turn. Chapter 20 is the point of no return. Once we go here, we need to finish the run, with no more access to the world map. This is a large seas map, and classically this is done with 2 warps with 28 magic Saleh. However, we have a spare rescue use and a purge use left over, and so I will show off a 1 warp, 1 rescue, 1 purge clear. The siege dome has to be purged rather than bolting in order to use a bishop as a boss killer, to leverage Slayer to muscle through the bulky boss. We need to move Eirika 17 squares to reach the central island, and Tethys effectively acts as a 3-range warp by dancing for her. This allows 28 magic Saleh to warp Eirika the remaining 14 squares. For the boss kill, we want to have Artur purge crit the boss, and there is one enemy in the way of his path that Vanessa takes out. We use 5 units to ensure Artur is rescued to the correct tile by Moulder. Artur will then use our final use of Purge to kill the boss, and Eirika will cease to complete chapter 20 in one turn. Well, we're here at Endgame, and there are a couple of very bulky bosses standing between us and the Turncounts scroll. The first boss is Leon, who has a ton of bulk. Our capped Artur with S-Rank Light has just enough power to kill him with a double Ivaldi crit. We deploy a few other units in preparation for Endgame 2, because we will not get a preps menu for part 2, and our starting formation in part 2 is determined by the order in which our units were deployed in part 1, which is also why I was messing around with the deployment order earlier. Artur just barely reaches the 43 magical attack threshold with Ivaldi to kill Leon with a double crit, with the last point of attack he needs being contributed by weapon triangle advantage. I originally trained Artur to S-Light as a backup in case I needed it for a certain alternate strategy, which I will discuss in the description. But obviously here it was just useful for this flex kill. The Demon King is very bulky, but takes effective damage from the Sacred Twins. Let's kill him without using the Sacred Twins. Because I promoted Vanessa to Wyvern, I lost access to the triangle attack. But we can still use the power of Lua to have Tana kill Fomortiz with a Pierce crit followed by a regular Pierce, with Vanessa and Cyrene standing nearby for moral support. That concludes Endgame Part 2 in one turn, wrapping up this playthrough. Well, that's that. FE8 Eirika route, 100% growth, full recruitment done in 67 turns. I hope you enjoyed watching.